Hi, welcome into the Community Police Review Commission of the City of Richmond, March 4th meeting. It is 7:01, and we will begin with call to order and roll call.
Great. So call to order at 7:01 PM. We'll go ahead and begin with roll call, beginning with Chair Cantu,
Yes.
Vice Chair Flores,
Present.
Commissioner Engel.
Here.
Commissioner Hedstrom,
Here.
Commissioner Jackson, absent. Commissioner Lawson, absent. Commissioner Martinez, absent. Commissioner Menifee, absent. And Commissioner Tellez.
Here.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go into the statement of conflict of interest.
I have heard of no commissioners having a conflict of interest tonight.
Thank you. And now we will move into our agenda review. City Attorney, I believe there's one thing that needs to be removed from closed session, is that right?
Yes, the item A in closed session. We will be hearing that in the future. So
Perfect. Is there anything that needs to be changed? The order needs to be changed. And great. So just for everybody to know, closed session item 10A is removed. Okay. Thank you. And now we'll go into the approval of the minutes. Anybody want to have any motion to approve? Second?
No, I actually want to make an amendment. So it's very small, but basically I was put as I was formerly first rated, I am formerly first.
Yes.
what page is
That hasn't changed. I'm not sure what page it is when we were introducing ourselves.
Okay, got it.
And
It's all right. we'll find it.
yeah, and then somebody want a second?
I'll second.
Okay, with the changes.
Yes,
Do you accept that?
yes.
Great.
Go ahead and call roll call. We'll begin with Chair Cantu,
Yes.
Vice Chair Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Hedstrom.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson is absent. Commissioner Lawson, absent. Commissioner Martinez, absent. Commissioner Menifee, absent. And Commissioner Tellez. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to the report by the Chief of Police. Do we have him online?
Yes.
Good.
Welcome. And for the record, 7:05, Commissioner Menifee has arrived. Welcome in. And welcome in, Chief. We'll wait your presentation.
All right. Well, good evening, Chair Cantu and Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to start my report this evening with the overview of our current use of force for the month of January 1st through January 31st. We had a total of about just over 7,600 calls for service. Within those calls for service, 6 incidences where there was a taser deployment. One incident accounts for 3 of those taser deployments. The individual involved was wearing multiple layers of clothing, and the taser was not connecting at all with the individual. So one incident accounts for 3 of the deployments, and then 3 others are 3 separate deployments. And then we utilized our RAP 3 times. And we had 2 incidences of less lethal options to use a beanbag against 2 armed individuals, 2 separate incidences. Out of those use of force incidences, 3 of them involved somebody that was either intoxicated or under the influence of some narcotic. And so that is the totality of our use of force for the month. I want to provide an update there was a question last month around having the investigator attend our use of force review meetings. I have submitted the RLO request for that. I am still waiting for that RLO to come back. The latest communication that I got from the city attorney's office about 3-4 days ago was they're still evaluating. They're behind on their RLOs, given a lot of the things that have been brought to the city attorney's office related to council agenda items that have taken priority. So they're working through their RLOs. They're a little bit behind, but I've been assured I should have a response back soon, at which case I will include the commission. I'm not going to wait until the next meeting. I'll via email send that opinion through to well, I guess my question, would it be appropriate to send it to Floyd and then have Floyd disseminate it, or you want me to send it just to the commissioners as a whole? Like, what's the proper way to handle that?
Is the legal opinion provided by the city attorney's office privileged? If so, you should send it to me.
Yes, it is privileged. Yes.
Yes.
All right. I will send it to you, Floyd. I'm hoping Friday, Monday, I should have something. So be looking in your email, please, and I'll send that over to you.
Thank you.
And then I will also be in communication with the investigator as well, just so he's aware of whatever the results of that were. Okay, my crime report. Let me start with ShotSpotter. For the month of January, for the month of February, shots fired, calls for service are down. From January, we had 18 separate incidences that involved shots fired calls. In February, we had 16. So that's an 11% reduction month over month. For our year to date, we are at 34 shots fired calls. And just, for clarification, a shots fired call is a resident of our community calling and reporting that they're hearing gunshots or witnessing a situation where they're on viewing gunshots. We had 34 incidences year to date, which is reflective of a 24% decrease. In 2025, at the same time, we had 45 incidences of shots fired calls. Now, our ShotSpotter activations, which is the electronic activation of shots fired calls, in the month of February, we had 46. And in the month of January, we had 45. So a very slight increase by 1, which is a 2% increase month over month. So clearly, ShotSpotter is indicating that there are more shots fired incidences than what we have residents calling in. And then for the year to date, and this is going to also be consistent with the year to date. Year to date, we've had 91 ShotSpotter activations. In comparison to this time last year, we had 57. So that's a 60% increase in shots fired activations, which is fairly significant. And you're going to see that number reflected in actually shooting incidences. So these are our crime incidences, reported incidences of an individual stating that they were the victim of gunfire. Not necessarily was somebody injured by the gunfire, but they were the target of the gunfire. So January, we had 12 incidences, and February, we had 12 as well. So there's no change. Concerning that in a 2-month time period, we've had 24 reported incidences of victims of gunfire. So that is something that is concerning to me and concerning to the police department, and is part of our daily discussions right now on how to create an intervention in that. And I'm working with other city resources and neighboring agencies to do this. So this is not just a Richmond PD issue. Our year to date, we've had 24 incidences, like I just said, of shots fired, victims of shootings, sorry, not shots fired, victims of shootings. And our year to date at this same time last year in 2025, we had 12. So that is reflective of a 100% increase if you look at year to date from January and February of 2025 to January and February of 2024. Monitoring this trend, we are really concerned about this. We had a tactical detail this morning where we utilized our SWAT team to serve a warrant, and we pulled out of this house a machine gun that had the capability of having 200 rounds. It was two 100 round magazines that attached to the same machine gun. And so that was a military grade style machine gun that we pulled out of a resident. And it resulted from a shot fire incident. The investigation started with shots being fired, and we were able to identify the individual. And when the investigation concluded, the firearm that was used, I got to be honest, I've been in this profession, going on 20 years, and I was surprised to see what was there. Anyhow, that firearm is no longer on our streets, and neither is that individual at the moment. So that is our shots spotter and shots fired and shooting report. And then our general crime report. Violent crime overall, good news, is down 4%. That is all of our persons violent crime. So that is a number that I want to see down month over month. And right now, our year to date, it is down 4%. And month over month, January to February, it's down 26%. So that's trending in the direction we want it to go. Our property crime, however, year to date is up 11%, even though we had a good February in comparison to January. In January, we had 277 reported property crimes. And then in February, we had 202 reported property crimes. So that's a 27% reduction month over month. But if we're comparing how we're performing year over year, we're up a little bit, 11% in our property crimes. Some key individual crimes that I want to just highlight. We have 0 homicides for the year, so knock on wood, celebrate that. We want to continue that every single month. That 0 needs to remain 0. Another area that is performing well in terms of trending in the direction we want is our robberies. 65% reduction in robberies month over month. January, we had 26 robberies reported, and in February, we had 9. And then our comparison year over year is also down 33%. So trending in the right direction, and that includes both strong arm robberies and armed robberies. Another area that is trending in the right direction is our weapons violations. So this is primarily our firearms violations. It includes a few other like knives and people being assaulted in that manner, but primarily this is going to be firearms. Month over month, we've had a little bit of a spike. We're up 41% from January to February. January, we had 22 reported weapons violations, and then in February we had 31. But our year comparison for where we were last year, we're down 7% in comparison to where we were at this time last year. Some areas of concern. Our burglaries are up 9% month over month, and year over year they're up 35%. So this is primarily residential burglaries. Always a concerning thing to me, and you have heard me talk about this in the past. People feeling safe in their homes is one of the hallmarks of a community that feels safe in their community. So I really pay attention to what goes on with our residential burglaries, because those are direct violations to how people feel in their home. So our property crimes unit is really looking at this, and so is our patrol officers. Our stolen vehicles year over year is up 33%. That's also another hallmark crime that we continue to look at to kind of understand what's going on with that. People need their vehicles to get to work, take their kids to school. Nobody likes coming out in the morning and seeing that their car is gone. So we are working to address that as well with some neighboring agencies and some task force that we might be able to access. You've heard me a few times now talk about our sex assaults and our sex offense. This continues to be a problem in Richmond. Um, our month over month is down. So we had 11, and these are classified as forcible sexual assaults, meaning there was some force, not just fear or coercion used, but there was some force used by the perpetrator in relationship to the sexual assault. And that's a key difference between a non-forcible sexual assault and a forcible sexual assault. So our forcible sexual assaults in January, we had 11 reported incidences from victims. In February, we had 10. Our year over year, though, we're trending up 40%. So if we look at where we were at this time last year in 25 to where we are this year, we're at a 40% increase in forcible sexual assaults. Our previous police chief, Bisa French, is now the executive director of the Family Justice Center, and she just took the helm. Her first day in office, I believe, was either yesterday or today. So I plan on letting her get settled, and then working with her and the advocates through the Family Justice Center and our detectives that are assigned to the Family Justice Center to find ways to address this trend. This is not this is something that we need to get creative with and figure out what's going on with this. There doesn't seem to be, it's not one person that's out here. There's not a serial sexual assault suspect running around in our streets. So I don't want the commission or the public who's listening to think that there's somebody out here committing a bunch of them. They are individual isolated incidences that are mostly happening within the codification of a particular relationship that individuals find themselves in. So I really think there might be a strategy we can work on with the Family Justice Center to address the issue and also help these victims get the help that they need for long-term recovery and stability for them. I think that was the last area that I really wanted to cover. Yeah, everything else is kind of stable and on track with where we usually are. So those were the areas of our crime report I really wanted to highlight. And then the last area of my report that I wanted to cover at the commission just covers our staffing levels. Authorized 147 sworn positions. I currently have 127 of those positions filled. That is from the chief of police, myself, on down to our newest officer. Out of those 127 filled positions, 7 of them are in our training program, either waiting to go to the police academy or waiting to enter the training program. So we've got 7 that are kind of in a limbo state, not that they won't be ready to provide service to the community for quite some time now. But in total, that leaves me with 20 sworn vacancies. This is, 20 sounds like a lot, and 20 is a lot, but it is less than we had last month. And last month it was less than we had the month before that. So we're having a trend of chipping away at our vacancies, moving towards our staffing levels. So our personal and training unit and our human resources department and the city is doing a great job helping us get our vacancies filled with police officers. The breakdown of those 20 sworn vacancies is as followed. There's an assistant chief vacancy that was vacated with my promotion. There is 1 lieutenant's vacancy, 5 sergeants or first line supervisors, and then there's 13 officer vacancies. Another question that came out of the commission from, I think it was last month, was with regards to the assistant chief recruitment. So here's what's happening with that. The question from the commission was, can a representative from the commission be involved in the recruitment process? And the answer is yes. So I'm working with HR. There will be a recruitment firm procured. The HR has already procured the firm. It's just a matter of working with HR on our dates and things of that nature. And I will communicate with Chair Cantu with regards to what those dates look like, and she could have that discussion with you all as it relates to how the commission can participate in that. Um, the timing of that recruitment will probably be late summer, so we're looking at probably August. And in the meantime, I have three captains who have all expressed, all three of them have expressed interest that they want to compete along with outside candidates for that position. So what my plan is between now and August, each captain is going to have an opportunity to serve in an acting capacity so that they can understand what the job entails and what will be required and expected. And it will also give me an opportunity to see if they can perform, if they step up to the standard, can they step into the shoes and the expectations that I have and that the community has. So it's going to be kind of an opportunity for them to learn the job, see the job, and for me to kind of evaluate where they're at as they go into the recruitment process. So it'll be 2 months, and then it'll rotate to the next one 2 months, and then it'll rotate to the last one for 2 months as we head into the recruitment. This practice has never happened here in Richmond. However, it is a common practice in many other agencies where there's multiple potential inside candidates where they give them an opportunity to learn the job in an acting capacity. So that is a common practice in other organizations throughout Contra Costa County and surrounding counties. And then our professional staff, we are authorized 71 professional staff full-time positions. 57 of those professional staff positions are currently filled, which leaves me with 14 current vacancies. And those vacancies break down as such. I have one jailer vacancy, one network and system specialist 2 vacancy, one CCTV and wireless system specialist vacancy, one police records specialist vacancy, 6 communication dispatcher vacancies, 3 crime scene technician vacancies, 1 parking enforcement representative vacancy. And then I have some part-time vacancies, 3 crossing guards and 3 cadets. In terms of our risk management status, I currently have 2 officers on either injury leave or sick leave. I have 3 officers out on light duty, and I have 2 officers out on administrative leave, pending results of an investigation. And Chair, that concludes my report for the evening.
Thank you, Chief. Really appreciate the thorough report. Are there questions for the chief?
Yeah. I guess I want to look into the sexual assault. Do the victims and the perpetrators know each other?
Many
Is that what
times,
you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm just confused. Like, it's not somebody just walking down the street that's
No.
being assaulted.
no. So if you recall, we had what you just described. We did have that
Yes, I remember when.
Point Richmond.
in Point Richmond, and that person has been taken into custody. Most of the sexual assaults we're seeing happening right now there's a nexus in the relationship, not marriage, not dating, but it's like a friendship, for example, or an acquaintance or a coworker, or there's a nexus to the relationship. And I can't really get into the specifics, but I give you a hypothetical. 2 coworkers go out to dinner and then end up having drinks, and then things progress, and all of a sudden there's a sexual assault that occurs where the victim knows who this person is. I will tell you, in each of those cases, they are connected to advocates in the Family Justice Center, because we're not just concerned about resolving their criminal case, which we are certainly concerned about that, but we are equally concerned about making sure they have follow-up and advocacy, because those are really traumatic situations, and they're oftentimes very complex, and they require an ongoing connection and an ongoing, I mean, even all the way to having an advocate go to court with them if they need to be, because they need to confront their accuser. You know, the accuser has the opportunity to confront, what am I trying to say? Not the accused has the opportunity to confront the accuser. And many times we don't want them having to go to court alone. We want them to have advocates. So the FJC is a crucial resource to this end.
Commissioner? Yes. And I have a question regarding the firearms that you're finding. Are you seeing a trend where they are traceable or they have a serial number, or are we talking about ghost guns?
Most of the time they're ghost guns. So I told you about the one we took off the street today. We had another operation yesterday where we took some ghost guns out of a house, and they also had. Are you familiar with the trigger altering on a ghost gun? So for those that are not, a trigger alter allows an individual to turn a regular pistol into an automatic pistol. So instead of it being semi-automatic, where they have to pull the trigger each individual time to fire a round, they're able to hold the trigger down and it fires all rounds that are in the magazine. So we're seeing an uptick in those. So not just the ghost guns that are untraceable, but guns that have these trigger modifications on them. And that's what we took off the street yesterday in another operation.
Yeah, and just to follow up with that, are you aware of like any kind of legislation on the state level to try to limit the sale of those in California?
They're
The
illegal.
ghost guns.
They're illegal in California. They can't be
Okay.
sold at all. The laws are already on the books, both the ghost guns and the trigger alters. Either it's a crime to either have the trigger alter or a ghost gun in the state of California.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Chief, I have a question. Well, there's two, but both of them are around Flock. Last night, there was a really important discussion on the Flock safety cameras. And I was trying to just better understand how you went from the decision to pause the Flock cameras, but then are coming in now saying that you feel there's enough safety regarding the cameras for them to be turned on live. And
Yeah.
just trying to get a little bit more understanding.
Certainly. Yeah. So when I turned the ALPR cameras off, I had no information other than information was accessible that should not have been accessible. And I wanted to have the time to investigate, research, talk, find out what was going on. And my position on it is I'm not trying, and I think I stated this in my preamble before I opened the discussion yesterday, was I'm not here to represent Flock. I'm more or less interested in a technology that we can properly leverage to help keep our community safe. Right now, the investment into Flock and the changes that Flock has made with their operating system are now aligned with all of the California protocols, all the California laws, and all the safety measures that any other vendor should have, and will hope will have. I have an RFP out, so I'm waiting to see what the findings of that are going to be. And then in addition to that, being able to negotiate a make whole remedy, which I won't be able to do on the onset, at least with any other vendor, where there's recourse. I wanted the council to be able to have an opportunity to have recourse. So if there is something that occurs, what is the recourse for the city? What is the recourse for the council? So being able to have an avenue for them to go down where they can not just try to claim a breach of contract, which is definitely a route that can be had, but I want them to have something significant that they can say, not only are we going to breach the contract, but we are going to be made whole. In each of these incidences, you now owe us per the contract you agreed to. We're fining you, and that is a very unique opportunity. So when I looked at the totality of everything, is what generated my recommendation. And I provided two options in the agenda report. Option one, which is, hey, turn the ALPR and let's move on. Option two would be, hey, if you're not really, because the ALPR is really where the controversy is. option two would be continue on with the CCTV and the DFR, which are services that our community and our city continues to need to protect city assets and things of that nature, and now provide time for the RFP process to run itself in its totality, and then let's come back to council. So I was trying to think about it in multi-layers, all the way to the point of not asking for a multi-year extension in any way, shape, or form, asking to just get us through the year. So now we have a reflection period where we can look back and see, are there things here that are concerning or not, and not being tied into a multi-year contract. And then the last thing that I put in there, is at any point in time, whether it's Flock or any other company, I am a big believer in transparency. And so my recommendation and my practice, whether it comes from council or not, it'll either come from council or it'll come from me in terms of policy direction, that audits will be part of this report, that will be turned over, and not just reported on verbally, but physical copies of the audit report will be given to the commission so they have eyes on, to be able to see what is happening with that technology, how's it being used and searched, and all those types of things. And then I want an annual audit of the system from a third party auditor, not procured by the police department, procured by the city, that reports to the city council as a whole. I believe that that will be necessary to maintain the level of transparency and trust that we want to have with our community as we try to appropriately leverage technology in our community.
Thank you. My other question in particular was around the young lady that was named yesterday. And usually for missing person or for trafficking, we get some type of alert, an Amber Alert. We get some type of missing person, and I wonder how the commission could help with that.
So let me give a little more context. So last night was not the appropriate venue for me to kind of sidetrack and go on the tangent. The situation with the juvenile human trafficking victim, it is a case out of Stanislaus County. It is not a Richmond case. Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department, it is their case. They're in charge of it. They are the ones operating it. They are the ones that notified us that her phone is pinging on cell towers inside of Richmond. And so we were serving as an outside assist, where we then took over the cell ping and are out looking now for this car. And it was pinging all over Richmond. And then the moment we would get close, a new cell tower would ping. And then about 2 hours into the search, at about 10:15, everything went dark. So either her cell phone died, or they turned it off, or they completely left the city of Richmond. But all we had access to was the city limits pings. So we are working with Stanislaus County, because we know that Richmond has a blade. We know that Oakland has a blade. We know that Vallejo has a blade. And so the current belief is that this young person is being trafficked from Stanislaus County to one of the blades in the Bay Area. And she happened to be in Richmond last night. So we don't have the information or the authorization to put stuff out, because it's not our investigation. We were acting in the form of an outside assist to assist an outside agency in trying to find her in that moment. But that's not our case. Did the lights just go out in the room? What just happened? Everyone just disappeared. Oh, there you are. Okay. I'm like, everyone just disappeared. What happened?
Thank you so much. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. I think it would be really helpful if there is any way that the commission can help, or put something on our website or anything when we're out in the community. We really want to be able to assist. And last night it seemed like it was RPD's case, and so it was the first time that I've heard.
Yeah, no, it was simply, we have a juvenile. All I stated was we have a juvenile human trafficking victim in our community right now, and we're out looking for her, which was the case, but it was a case coming out of Stanislaus County.
Okay, yeah, thank you for clarifying that. That's super helpful.
Yep.
Yeah, Commissioner Sayers.
So just to follow that up, is it does it usually, and I don't know a lot, but I just wanna know, like, usually when there's a juvenile that's, missing or someone's trying to look for her, does there like an Amber Alert go out? Is there any way that the
So there,
community
yeah, there's a very
access to that?
specific criteria for an Amber Alert that has to be met. Again,
Mhm.
and I don't have all the details because again, this is Stanislaus County's case. They don't turn over all the facts of the case, all the details of the case. And outside assist is simply Richmond PD. We have a human trafficking case going on. We have this young lady. Here's the description of the car we have. Here's her cell phone. Here's her ping information. It's pinging in Richmond. Can you please help us try to find her in Richmond? That's kind of the extent. And now we're working with her because we know that Richmond has a blade. So we're paying attention to that ping to see if that phone ever comes back into our city. And if there's anything else we can assist Stanislaus County with. But you have to, it's called a deconfliction. So when you're conducting we're not actually conducting the investigation. We were conducting a search operation, which is different than the investigation. The investigation is being conducted by an outside agency. Um, so you have to be very careful. We can't just come out and put out information without deconflicting with the investigating agency because we don't know what they have going on. Are they working with the FBI? Are they working just with themselves? Are they working with other outside agencies? There's many layers and dynamics associated with a lot of these types of investigations. Our role at the time is, can you please help us find this car? And if she's there, stop the car. If you find the car, stop the car. Here's the ping, the best way that you can use to try to find this vehicle. So that was the nature of our involvement.
And just to better understand, so is it the flock cameras in that moment are, because you mentioned cell towers, so
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand how flock actually plays into the cell towers.
Yeah, so Flock doesn't play into the cell tower at all. How Flock would
Oh.
have helped us is we had a description of the vehicle, and we could use the Flock cameras to see if we have a vehicle that matches that description driving around our city, that we can then say, this is the car, right? This is the car. Here's where it's at. It's at First and Mac right now, rather than driving around looking for cell tower pings, because cell tower pings, a couple of things with those. First off, they're delayed. They can be delayed up to 5 minutes. So by the time your cell signal pings off of one of the towers and comes through the ping, it could be up to 5 minutes old, which means you could be in a whole different location at that point in time. The other thing with cell towers is depending upon where you're at in the city, it also depends on which tower now is going to pick up your cell phone. So it may not necessarily be the closest tower to where you're at. Your phone could be picking up a signal from a tower that's in San Pablo right now, just based upon your geographic location. So it's like kind of a cat and mouse sort of, okay, we have 3 cars in the area. Does anybody see anything over here? Nope, nobody sees anything over here. All right, it's pinging over here now. All right, let's drive over here. And it's sort of a chase the tail kind of a situation compared to vehicle description. We see the car, it's at First and Mac. Everybody, First and Mac right now. Head over there.
And then this will be my last question. When I did my ride along and my sit along, I saw that you guys have a drone that's able to go out into the community. Is that being utilized at all for these kinds of cases?
It would be so that requires a full-time person to operate it. Right now, I don't have the staffing to operate it full-time. So it's being operated on a special assignment type basis, like basically on overtime. So the short answer to your question is yes, it could be. If we were looking for that car, we could use that. If we knew where that car was, it wouldn't just be a broad, it would be more like following the pings, just like the officers are, but it would get there before the officers would get there, right? If we knew where the car was, it would go right to where that car is, and we could start coordinating on how to get there appropriately or which direction is it going in, so we could head it off in another location. But it's not operational full time right now. It's operational on a overtime basis, which I guess we'll just call that part time at the moment.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the commission? Okay.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you,
so much,
everybody. Have a
Adrian.
wonderful evening. Okay. Take care.
Chief Simmons?
Oh,
If you-
public comment, right?
Yes, please, yes.
Yes, yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
So before we move into public forum here and read the statement, anyone who wishes to address the commission on any subject within the jurisdiction of the commission, whether or not the subject is contained on this agenda, as well as pertaining to the remarks of the chief of police, may do so by filling out a speaker request form with the staff liaison or by raising your hand via Zoom. There will be a 3-minute time limit per speaker, subject to the chairperson's discretion. We will go ahead and move into public forum. We have Cordell Himmler here in person. Cordell, you'll have 3 minutes to speak and you may begin.
Thank you, Nicole. So good evening, Chair Cantu, Commissioners. For the record, I am Cordell Himmler and I'm a member of the Park Plaza Neighborhood Council. So thank you, Chief Simmons, for that presentation. So let me reiterate my comments from the last meeting. Within a 2-month period, I have observed some reckless driving along the same corner of South 47th and Wall. And I would really appreciate it if we would have police presence in that area, because I've gotten a lot of feedback from the residents, and they're saying that they keep seeing cars, doing donuts in that same block. And it's like, it's going to be an issue once again. And every time I call the police, by the time I call them, they leave. And so that's one. And then the other thing that was not mentioned in the report was like, human trafficking, because I had brought it up last time, and every time I go along that 23rd Street corridor, it's going to be a problem once again in front of businesses, and people like myself don't feel safe going along that area because of the human trafficking. So I would hopefully you're taking notes to making sure that I would like to see those sting operations coming back in that area. And I see you got a pin right there. I'm like, so that's two. And then the third issue is like, I've spoken with some of the businesses along 23rd Street, Palace Furniture in particular, because one of their concerns is like, it's like there's not enough lighting, because people are afraid to come down that area because it's like they don't feel comfortable going inside of a business, and they're gonna find out where did they park their car, and I'm like, they don't feel safe. So it would be great if we had some extra patrol along that corridor. And the fourth thing is, let's see, one of the things that was not mentioned is like, I do appreciate having the beat officers coming to the neighborhood council, which we're gonna talk about later in the agenda. It would be great if we had some more police presence, because businesses along that corridor is like, it's not safe, my opinion. But the final thing is, and I don't think it was mentioned about park enforcement, because on a number of occasions, I have called the police at least twice because I had reported people having their cars parked for like a certain period of time. And it would be great if we had parking enforcement come through around this area, because this happens like in the daytime. So that's just food for thought. And I will let Lisa Johnson take the rest of it. So thank you, Chair Cantu, for hearing my comments. And Lisa Johnson, it's all yours.
Thank you, Cordell. Okay, next speaker we have is going to be Lisa Johnson. Once you have the opportunity to speak, you may begin to do so, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here tonight to call for the immediate resignation of Commissioners Marisol Cantu and Carmen Martinez, and any other commission who is a member of Reimagine Richmond. Commissioners Cantu and Martinez sit on the steering committee of Reimagine Richmond, an organization with a clear, documented pattern of anti-police bias. Their dual roles create an irreconcilable conflict of interest that this commission cannot afford, and they have not been transparent about it. Their mandated Form 700 filings list income from a fiscal sponsor when the actual employer was Reimagine Richmond. The record speaks for itself. In September 2024, these commissioners voted to override the findings of the DA and trained investigators, declaring excessive use of force against officers who had been cleared of any wrongdoing in the Kevin McDonald shooting. That decision was a serious failure of process and impartiality that it led to the whistleblower resignation of former investigator Threet. As a direct result, this commission was required to undergo mandatory training, 6 hours of it, including bias training, on August 2nd. 2 days later, on August 4th, Angel Montano was unfortunately shot and killed. What followed was a textbook example of the bias they had been just trained to avoid. And make no mistake, no communication leaves Reimagine Richmond without their approval. Within days before any investigation was complete, the names of officers Remick and Stocking were illegally leaked to the press. Those names were known to a very few people, including these commissioners. The leak went to Richmond Side, the same outlet that organization and the RPA routinely use. That leak alone demands a full investigation. On August 7th, Commissioner Cantu posted on her personal Facebook page that the officers need to be locked up and charged before a single investigator had concluded their work. That same day, Reimagine Richmond posted on Instagram demanding that Remick be fully investigated, fired, and charged. On August 11th, their newsletter repeated those demands. We demand accountability, a full investigation, immediate firing, and criminal charges. These are not the words of impartial oversight. These are the words of people who have already reached their verdict. Last Friday, the DA formally cleared both officers. Within 48 hours, Reimagine Richmond publicly rejected that outcome. They are now demanding stronger civilian oversight with, quote, real authority, because they don't like the result. They say Richmond deserves, quote, leadership that prioritizes justice, and they've appointed themselves to decide what that looks like. Commissioner Cantu has been photographed at Reimagine Richmond events wearing a shirt that reads, "No more police." That is not a neutral position, and it's disqualifying. This commission deserves civilian oversight that is fair, independent, and grounded in due process, not a body that prejudges officers before investigations are complete, leaks names to the press potentially, and rejects DA findings. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. We have two other online speakers. Just one moment. Our next speaker is going to be Alexander Kane. Mr. Kane, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. I'll start the timer.
Chair Cantu and members of the commission, tonight I want to address something that goes to the very core of whether this body can claim to conduct fair oversight. The Contra Costa County District Attorney has now completed the investigation into the Montano shooting and determined the use of force was lawful. No charges were filed. That decision came after a full review of the evidence, including body camera footage showing Angel Montano holding 2 knives as he confronted officers. But long before that investigation was complete, many people connected to the commission had already decided what the outcome should be. Chair Marisol Cantu, you publicly posted that Richmond police officers need to be locked up and charged. That statement was made before the investigation was finished, before the district attorney reached any conclusion, before the public saw the evidence. At the same time, the activist organization Reimagine Richmond, an organization that several members of this commission belong to, publicly demanded that Remick be investigated, fired, and criminally charged. Again, those demands were made before the investigation was completed. This raises a very serious question. How can the members of this commission claim to impartially review police conduct when they are also members of an organization that publicly demands criminal charges against officer before investigations are even finished? That is not oversight. That is predetermination. In any legitimate oversight system, this would trigger basic principle of fairness. That's recusal. If you have publicly declared that officers should be criminally charged, if you belong to an organization actively campaigning against those officers, then you are no longer a neutral decision maker. You are a party to the controversy. No judge would be allowed to preside over a case publicly declaring the defendant guilty. No juror would be allowed to sit on a jury after demanding charges before the trial. Yet this commission appears comfortable allowing activists who have already taken public positions to sit in judgment. That undermines the credibility of this entire process. Richmond deserves oversight that is fair, objective, and grounded in evidence. But when the commissioners publicly advocate for criminal charges that align themselves with activist organizations pushing that outcome, the public is left with a commission that looks less like oversight and more like a political tribunal. And that should concern everyone in this city. I yield my time.
Thank you for your public comment. Next, we have Nathan Lonzo. Once you're able to speak, Nathan, I'll start the timer for your 3 minutes.
Good evening, Chair Cantu and members of the commission. I want to talk tonight about credibility because the Contra Costa District Attorney has now completed the investigation into the Montano shooting, and the conclusion is clear. The shooting was lawful, no charges. The evidence showed Angel Montano came outside holding 2 knives and advanced toward officers. Those are facts. But long before the facts were known, many people in this room had already decided what the outcome should be. Chair Cantu, you posted publicly that Richmond police officers need to be locked up and charged. Those were your words. Not after the investigation, not after the evidence, but before the investigation was finished, before the district attorney reviewed the case, before the public saw the body camera showing Montano holding 2 knives. At the same time, Reimagine Richmond, an organization that several members of this commission belong to, demanded that Officer Remick be investigated, fired, and charged. They also accused the department and the district attorney of allowing officers back on the street improperly. Again, before the facts were known, before the DA completed the investigation, before the public saw the video evidence. That is not oversight, that is prejudgment. And when the chair of Police Review Commission and members of the commission are simultaneously part of an activist organization demanding criminal charges against officers before the investigation is finished, the public has every right to question whether this body is capable of being impartial. Oversight requires objectivity, it requires restraint, it requires waiting for evidence. What we saw instead was activism dressed up as oversight. The district attorney reviewed the evidence and determined the shooting was lawful. The officers have been cleared, but the damage created by months of misinformation and political accusations does not simply disappear. And tonight, the public deserves an answer to a very, very simple question. If commissioners publicly demand that officers be locked up before investigations are complete, how can this commission claim to be fair and impartial? Because Richmond deserves oversight based on facts and evidence, not ideology. I'm going to read the conclusion of the DA's office investigation into the shooting. For all the reasons listed above, the use of force by Officer Remick and Officer Stocking were reasonable under the circumstances. The officers acted in lawful self-defense and defense of others in response to an exigent situation where the officers on scene were in imminent danger of suffering great bodily injury. As such, no further action will be taken to this case. These are the experts. These are experts in the law, not any of you sitting in that room. Follow the facts and follow the law. Get it right.
I apologize, Nathan Lonzo, your time is up at this moment. Thank you for your comment. Are there any public comments at this time for this item for public forum? There are no other public comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
We are gonna move into item number 7, old business discussion items, ad hoc committees and A. I did you share any rumors?
So, I did put an item to be on the agenda, but it didn't make it onto the agenda, which would be to vote to dismantle we supposedly have some, ad hoc committees, but I don't think any of them are active at this time. And so, it makes sense to get rid of them, but we don't have a, voting item here. But if anybody is interested in ad hoc committees, maybe you can bring it to the next meetings, make an agenda report that you'd like to create one. And then maybe we can have an agenda report to just make everything official, but which ones we have or don't have.
Yes, and I'm pulling up the photo really quickly to see which ones we do have. Think there was a state legislation one, there was an outreach ad hoc. There was a hiring committee ad hoc, there were two different hiring ad hocs. One was for the temporary investigator and another one was for the permanent investigator. And so those all, because those have already been hired, those we don't have an actual process until the bylaws are complete to dissolve those, correct?
My understanding, you don't actually need a process, so it's good that we have one that we're going to be voting on in the bylaw. Instead, if they're not meeting, then they really are just automatically dissolved. There isn't an official process that needs to go through, but our bylaws will provide for them.
Okay, so the last one was. And these are all from previous chairs' meetings or in public. And it was presented in our January meeting. And so there was another one that was training. And it was identifying the required trainings. And so that work has been done. We've already moved the actual ordinance. And so that one is no longer meeting. And outreach was Commissioner Martinez and Commissioner Hegstrom. Are you guys still meeting?
So the problem with outreach is that it's an ongoing thing, and we actually aren't doing anything right now. So if somebody wants to make something for outreach, it would have to be a subcommittee instead of an ad hoc committee.
Okay.
So we're not meeting.
Okay, so that ad hoc is then closed. And then we have legislative compliance. That was Commissioner Lawson and myself. We stated in the last meeting our recommendations. Now that we have a full-time investigator and he's since been equipped with the software that our PD also uses, I believe Lexipol. Have you gotten access yet?
Not yet. I'm supposed to be on their listserv for their policy updates.
The policy updates. Okay. So that was the hope, that still is the hope that our full-time investigator will be getting information around compliance and policies, and that we would be able to have Alex help with that. So that one is not meeting and is also going to be dissolved. And then we had the interim and full-time investigator, which have been dissolved. So there are no active ad hocs right now. As fully stated per the Brown Act, there's not actually a full vote that's needed for ad hocs. It is needed for subcommittees. Of course, we want the public to know those ad hocs, and they need to be short term. The definition is in the bylaws. And so if there are short term ad hocs that are needed, please, you can email me and Floyd, and you can always get clarity around, is this a subcommittee or is this an ad hoc? And then we can help you figure out the agenda report. If you want to bring up a subcommittee, that would be long standing. We do need a full agenda report and a work plan, and so that can be put on the agenda and voted on.
Standing committee is also a Brown Act committee.
Yes.
So it is a little bit of expense for the city to help run. So it's a little bit complicated, but I think if this commission feels that one is necessary, then arguments can be made to make that happen. But we would have to work through Richmond City Management.
Exactly. Perfect. Is there anything else on ad hocs? Okay. So we currently have none. And if anybody would like to bring something in the future, reach out to me and Floyd.
So will that be removed from our
It will be. Henceforward, this is no longer going to be an old business item. For next, I will be removing that. Reports on commissioner training, including ride-alongs. And so to report back and, we just finished getting all of the dates input into the tracker, so that will be made available to the public. Our staff will work on getting that updated to the public. But for now, everybody except Commissioner Lawson has completed the ride-alongs. And all of the other required trainings by the city council have also been complete. And this will be removed from our old business as well to hopefully reduce on some of these old business items. Any other, maybe, Nicole, when do you think we could have that training tracker updated online? Just for the public to know when they go looking.
That can be sorry, I'm like, what day are we at? That can definitely be updated onto the website by the end of this week, so end of business Friday, March 6th.
Okay, great, that's perfect. And does anybody else want to report out on any other ride-alongs or shadowing? Thoughts, comments? Okay, it's a quick report. We are now going to go into public comment on old business items.
No, thank you. And so for our old, at this time, if you're online and you have a comment for old business, I ask that you raise your hand. But we have Cordell Hindler here in person as our first speaker. Cordell, you'll have 3 minutes to speak and you may begin.
Thank you, Nicole. So, good evening again, Chair Cantu, Commissioners. For the record, I am Cordell Hindler and I am a Richmond resident. So, talking about ad hoc committee, so one of the things that I did look at the city of Richmond's handbook, and it does say that ad hoc committee should be comprised of 2 people, not less than a quorum. So we don't want to break any Brown Act rules. So, but I think as far as like the outreach committee, as I stated last month, we do have a lot of neighborhood councils that are very active, and it got me thinking. It's like it would be great if the commissioners, like, would attend a neighborhood council meeting, monthly, like just to see what's it like, and how it's conducted, the meetings that is. And so it's one option. And then other things that I thought of was like, and I don't think it was mentioned, like, the Cinco de Mayo celebration is coming up, and it would be great if the outreach committee can, figure out a plan, like, to let people know what the Community Police Review Commission does. And so that way the residents will say, the CPRC, they do exist. And so, and then just like, engaging the community. So that's what, and then what really would help them is like, the candy, because the kids love candy, and it's like, that would get their attention. So that's just, food for thought. And as far as like the tracker for ride along, the only people that have not done the ride along is like the people that are in the room, sort of, and that's it. But there are other people that have not gotten a chance to it. So it would be great if the commission would do a ride along at some point. So that's it.
Thank you for that. Are there any other online speakers for old business items at this time? That completes our public comment.
Thank you. Now we're gonna move into agenda item 8, new business, the discussion of the bylaw. There is not a presentation attached, there is an agenda report, and I wanna make note that some of the updates, one was to include all of the hyperlinks to the section of the Richmond Municipal Code that has been done and updated. Also, our investigator Alex found that there was some discrepancies in the definitions. So the definitions of founded, sustained, it's unfounded, exonerated, not sustained, and sustained now match with what the standard that we'll be using moving forward. And there were some minor grammatical errors, spelling errors that needed to be updated, and hyperlinks. I think that is everything. Are there any other changes to the bylaws? Please.
As- Am I supposed to be recognized?
Yeah, please, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner, Vice Chair.
As far as the automatic resignation, do we need to spell out like a process? And so one thing that I was thinking about was who determines excuse versus unexcused, so I'm gonna leave it to the chair, and the chair. And then the other part of it would be, does the commission need to vote to say that, so and so has 3 absences and they're no longer part of the commission?
Yeah, that's really good. So from my understanding, and we're in section 2, article 5, just for folks to know, that's in the attendance and absence sections, section 2 and 3. So the only way that a commissioner can be removed is by the mayor, which is why there is no process. We legally cannot remove anybody. The mayor appoints us and dismisses us. That's why we don't have a process for that question. We can't create a process per the city attorney. We can't create a process in eliminating or dismissing somebody because that process is through the handbook and through the mayor's office.
Yes, but through the city clerk, if the person has more than 3 unexcused absences.
Yes,
They are automatically resigned from the commission.
yes.
It's not that we're kicking them off, it's effectively
That's different.
resigning.
So that's different. So I just want to make sure, because there's been times of people asking for resignations. So we don't just dismiss or, require. For the absences, this was taken directly from the commission handbook. And so all of the excused absences are a case by case basis by the chair. And so if I get an email early enough and approved, they're excused. You email me, they'll probably be excused. That's all I'm asking for is communication. Commissioner Martinez emailed today, excused absence. And that's process. You need to notify the chair directly. After 3 unexcused absences within a 12-month period, that's out of our jurisdiction as well. That goes to the city clerk. And they let them know that they automatically resign. We would not need to vote on that either. So it's because of the handbook that we don't create a separate process. The handbook already states a process. Any other questions on the bylaws?
I was thinking of this as Commissioner Chair Damon, if y'all thinking about something about an organizational affiliation transparency bylaw. And then maybe have to make it public on a website about what affiliations or what organizations are we on any other board. Who, things on that nature should be on here for transparency reasons.
Sure. Do you have the language that you would like to amend?
No, nothing in here though.
Yeah, so you would like to add them,
Yeah, organizational affiliation transparency bylaw.
Okay,
So I would like to suggest that you come up with some language and that we vote on it next time to change what's already in here, because we're going to approve this one tonight. If we don't have the actual language yet, because I think it should go through review by the attorney before I think it would be good to approve these tonight and then make amendments later.
But there's nothing in here like that right now.
Yeah, that's why it has to be added.
So I'd rather just have it, don't vote on it now, let's vote on it when it's added.
okay, that's your suggestion. We can make a motion to pass it and make amendments and we can vote on that. You can make a motion to change it. That's not a problem. Both can be accepted, they'll be voted on. And
Yeah.
so, and I think it's important, all of these bylaws are reviewed by the city attorney. And so these have been reviewed, they've been approved by the city attorney. And this is what we've had. We had a larger discussion last meeting when you weren't available to go over everything else. And so are there any other changes that need to be in here? I just want to look at.
For the Rosenberg rules, will we want to attach what Rosenberg rules are? Or reference, like a version of it.
Patrons? Or under what section?
I didn't, well, I'm sorry,
Which section?
I didn't look at it, it's just the Rosenberg rules when we're talking about.
Rosenberg rules are included in the commissioner's handbook and they're an appendix of the handbook. And so, yeah, that's part of those. Are you wanting to add specific language?
No, just more reference, mainly things, just so then the public knows.
Yeah.
Rosenberg rules, because I'm assuming that there's different versions of it, or at least provisions to it that was made throughout the years.
One legal version for Rosenberg Rules of Order, right?
That's true. There
There's
are different sets of rules, like Robert's rules, but Rosenberg's is generally the one that municipalities use. And in California, it's the same document that is referenced through the California League of Cities, the one that we have looked at before.
Great. Thank you.
You're fine. And also just looking. Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure that the language in here is that for section, this is article 10, 11, section 3, creation and dissolution of the ad hocs. So an ad hoc committee shall be dissolved if it has not met during the previous 6 months. The clerk shall state in the public record when an ad hoc committee is considered dissolved. And so, in the future, when we do have an ad hoc committee, I will clearly state it to make sure that it's dissolved. Great. Great. Are there any others before we go to? Okay, public comment.
All right, so we'll go ahead and if you have, if you would like to do a public comment on this item and you're online, please raise your hand at this time. But right now we have Cordell Handler here in person. Cordell, you'll have 3 minutes to speak and you may begin.
Thank you, Nicole. So good evening again, Chair Cantu, Commissioners. For the record, I am Cordell Handler and I'm looking at the bylaws and in section 8 on page. It's section 8 where it says public comment, which we're in right now. It's like reducing the time to 2 minutes. As I stated last month, I have attended other boards and commissions, and it depends on how much time is allowed. So for me, when I attend the Economic Development Commission meeting, I get 5 minutes, and I'm thinking, wow, I can use up the whole 5 minutes. And so, and I know you try to move the meetings, and not go until 9, 10 o'clock, and I figured reducing the time to 2 minutes is a little bit tricky. So as I stated before, other commissions do allow public comment, at the appropriate time. And so reducing it to 2 minutes, trying to be transparent. I think that sounds a little bit, I had a concern about that, but 2 minutes seems a little bit fair because, for example, if you recall, a few months back when we had the full room filled with people, the previous chair at the time knocked it down to 1 minute per person. I feel that 1 minute's that's kind of wishy-washy too. So I'm thinking that is good practice though, but if you want to hear if you want to hear the voices of the community, I still think we keep it at the format, 2 to 3 minutes at the minimum, because even the rent board allows public comment at 4 minutes a person. So that's just my feeling. And then hopefully I can get all of that in. So, and as far as the agenda preparation, and I have been in conversation with the city clerk in Berkeley, and from what he says, that it's usually the chair and vice chair would meet with staff to go over the agenda for the next meeting. So that way it's just those 2 officers that will meet with staff on a monthly basis to review the agenda for next month. And if they have some concerns, they can modify the agenda. So once they meet with staff and however is appropriate. So, and as far as the closed session, which I know you're gonna get into that in a minute, but just lost my thoughts. But as far as like the attendance, you know, it's very important that we have a forum because you cannot wait 20 minutes for another commissioner to not attend. And then as far as like the ad hoc committee, we were just talking about that earlier, it's like, if it's 2 people, that's fine. And then as far as like the media contact, the commission, I mean, the residents can be their own person when they talk to the media, and I'll
Thank
talk
you, Court.
Lisa Johnson can have.
Thank you, Cordia. Your time is up. Our next speaker, we have Lisa Johnson speaking, speaker online. I've allowed you to speak, Lisa, and you may begin.
Thank you. Good evening again, commissioners. I had a few things that I didn't quite see covered in these bylaws for your consideration at some point in the future, because I think they're important. This group is founded on accountability and transparency, and there are things which yet are not fully transparent. And part of that is I think there should be something listed somewhere on the website that commissioners must fully release to the public any activist organization that they are associated with. I think that's hugely required. I think there's also what I did not see in here, and this speaks to City Attorney Representative, which is document retention. I know that the city has policies. I believe the city clerk has been working on updating the document retention. I have not seen it come forward on the city council consent calendar yet. But I do think there needs to be a clear statement in your bylaws that speaks to document retention for all of your emails. Many of you are using personal emails. The city has zero control over your emails by which you conduct commission business. That's bad. And that needs to be corrected yesterday. Third, Public Record Act requests. They're not getting responded to. People are not handing over messages which we know are out there. There needs to be a clear outline in your bylaws as to your responsibility and requirements for answering Public Record Act requests. And that includes your personal emails, your personal cell phones and text messages, if they are pertinent to the subject matter. And then lastly, the city clerk and city attorney has not been able to provide answers to, and your document is unclear in Article 11, Section 2 on ad hoc committees. There are several things that are missing to let the community understand how they are created and how long they can exist. How long are they allowed to exist and operate and not be considered a standing committee? There is no true explanation provided there. Is there any requirement to take minutes or document anything at an ad hoc committee? That's not specified either. Is there any requirement to track how often an ad hoc committee meets, the dates of those meetings, the format of the meetings, and who attended? And lastly, is if there are no tracking controls, who is providing the oversight to ensure that the ad hoc committee is not in violation of the Brown Act if it is actually a standing committee? Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Are there any other public comments at this time online? There are no other public comments.
Entertain the motion.
I'd like to the motion to pass the bylaws.
I'll second.
You have a roll call?
Well,
I think it'll be time for discussion.
Or, okay.
Discussion, second, yeah.
Okay, discussion?
Quick question. Are we doing the ad hoc? As like, I just wanna know, because if it's less than a quorum of a commission, so that means that you don't actually have votes to pass anything. You're able to just work with people on things, right? So this is more like a transparency courtesy for the public?
Yes.
Okay, just.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of work that can be done without ad hoc committees, updating flyers, organizing the Sisters of Solidarity, none of that needs to be an ad hoc. It's more of a formality of a specific topic and a couple of members that want to focus in for a short amount of time to do something. Yeah.
And by creating the ad hoc, you're sort of letting the council know that this small group is gonna work on this thing on behalf and come back with a report out.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, then we have a roll call vote.
Okay, so we're voting to pass the bylaws. We'll go ahead and begin. Chair Cantu,
Yes.
Vice Chair Flores,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Hegstrom.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson is absent. Commissioner Lawson is absent. Commissioner Martinez is absent. Commissioner Menifee
No.
and Commissioner Tellez.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion has passed, and that's gonna be with the 5 votes and a 1 no from Commissioner Menifee.
Perfect. And we welcome any agenda reports to make amendments to the bylaws in the next meeting.
Commissioner Tejas, do you pronounce your name Tejas or Tellez?
Is Deus, so if you,
Yes.
like tech, and then yes.
Tejas.
Okay, thank you. I apologize.
Thank you, Nicole, for that. Now we're gonna move into reports from commissioners, staff, and in the future, I'll be removing write-alongs. Any reports from commissioner staff?
I have
Commissioner
something,
Ekstrom?
and I'm looking for my backup. So this Saturday at 10 o'clock in the Memorial Auditorium, which is right there, is the Sisters in Solidarity. And because of a sudden conflict, one of our people that was going to be there is not going to be there. So I am in desperate need of somebody to get, you want to come get your outreach hours? Great, okay. Anybody else? All right, so that's good. I will talk to you afterwards to get your phone number.
All right, perfect.
Thank you so much.
Saturday.
It's this Saturday. You get lunch. I mean, it's fun.
Okay, 10 a.m. to what end time?
Two, but you don't have to be there for the full 4 hours.
Yeah, I can coordinate that.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
The other one that was brought up today by Chief Simmons is I want to just take a quick note of anybody who is interested in a hiring panel that might happen in the late summer for the assistant chief so that we can coordinate. Please just raise your hand if you're interested in serving on the hiring panel for the assistant chief position.
Can I say one thing though?
Yes.
From what I remember in the past, when they've had those kinds of things, if you're going to be on the hiring panel, you have to be at every single interview that they do, which could be a long day or over multiple days. So you don't just get to go for like an hour and not do it. So if you're going to raise your hand, you gotta be ready to commit some time to it.
That's why I'm trying to see if there are 2 to 3 commissioners so that we have enough people to tell the chief that who are interested in that. And we have a couple of missing ones.
I might be just sort of as a preliminary.
I'd be interested in hearing more.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And great. Just trying to get those. And any other reports from commissioners? Great. Staff, I think you will review Jack Hughes.
Yeah, I think I'll just say that Jack Hughes is unavailable time.
And so Jack Hughes, folks don't remember, he is the chief negotiator. He is helping with the meet and confer process for the 8 reforms that were passed by this commission and by council. He was supposed to come in person and share more about that. And unfortunately, had emergency. So he's not able to join tonight, which is why we removed closed session A. And so we will invite him back next time to see if we can get more in-depth to understand where the process is. All right. Any other reports out? Staff, anything that we should be remembering? No. Okay, great. Please Call to a closed session.
Yes, and I'll leave you my phone number. She could text me, call me, so we come back.
Perfect.
And I guess the Zoom session needs to be.
So we're gonna, so once you go on.
I can't
I'll shut
figure it out.
everything
We're
down.
talking about.
Thank you.
Alright, so yeah, once we're ready to start, you guys will let me know who needs to be in there. I'll make those adjustments and then we'll leave the room.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, so
We are gonna be moving into the closed session now. And we have public comment before, prior. So we're gonna move into public comment right now,
Do we have public comment on?
closed session.
Oh,
Closed
session,
sorry.
Great.
Okay, so at this time, we're gonna move into public comment for closed session. So if you're online and you would like to comment during this time, please raise your hand. I do have Cordell Hindler here in person who would like to speak. Cordell, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, folks. So good evening again, Chair Cantu, commissioners. For the record, Cordell Hindler, I'm a original resident. So I was interested in hearing what Jack Hughes had to say. So what I was gonna say the same thing. I'll wait till next month so we can hear from him, what the media process is. So I'll just leave it at that and I'll put it over.
Thank you, Cordell.
No problem.
Are there any other public comments online at this time? Thank you. So we're gonna move into closed session.
Okay, so we are back from our closed session and we are gonna hear from the city attorney, with the report.
During the closed session, the commission did not hear item A. The commission did hear item B. There was 2 investigations. And, the commissioner present were, Chair Cantu, Vice Chair Flores, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Hegstrom, Commissioner Menifee, and Commissioner Tejas. For all of the items that I'm going to report out on, Commissioner Tejas abstained. And for all of the report out, all the other commissioners present voted yes. And on the first investigation, there were 2 allegations. The first allegation was an allegation of unnecessary force. And the commission found that the police officer was exonerated, or officers. In the second allegation, that was for discrimination, and the commission found the actions to be unfounded. In the second investigation, the allegation was for discrimination, and the commission determined that that allegation was unfounded. And that is the extent of the closed session report.
Thank you. We, the Pacific Commission adjourns at 10:12.